This summer, your home Oh, hey guys, Chris Graham here, Chris Graham Mastering. Have kind of a fun video for you guys today. It's about Indiana Jones and your home studio of doom. We all know that a home studio is one of the most powerful tools on earth. You can make a song that can sweep across the globe out of your home studio, but it can also be a really tough place to work. It can be a spot where you can have really high highs and really low lows. One of the big reasons that so many of us struggle with this sort of like ups and downs of the home studio game is that a lot of us are trying to make art that doesn't match us, or that doesn't match the gear, or that doesn't match our ability. And what I mean by that is there's a difference between striving for high fidelity and for great music. High fidelity is detail, it's clarity, it's a recording where you can hear every little thing. Musicality, on the other hand, is just a good song. It might not have a whole lot of detail acoustically or sonically to it. Perfect example of this is the song My Girl by The Temptations that came out in the 60s. It's one of the greatest songs of all time, in my opinion, but the fidelity, how good it sounds, how clear it is not great. It's harsh, it's bright, it's brittle, it's distorted, but it's better than any song I've ever made, for sure. A really great illustration of how fidelity is not always your friend, how when you're making a song in the home studio, making something that sounds perfect, that sounds super clear, that's just absolutely crystal when you create that recording isn't always the best thing. And as an example, so in the movie Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Indiana Jones is trying to find the Holy Grail. And the Holy Grail is literally the Holy Grail. It's like the thing everyone's chasing. And he gets to this moment where he's in a room and there's a bunch of grails and he's not sure which one the Holy Grail is. Now, if he drinks from the wrong grail, he'll die. And there's this scene where one of the bad guys drinks from the wrong grail and this happens. So for you guys that have seen this movie, especially you guys that were born in the 80s like I was, this scene was terrifying when you watched it on your little 17-inch TV in 1994 or whatever it happened to be. First time I saw this scene, it just rattled me to my core. But you got to keep in mind, it was on a tiny TV at 480p, really low resolution, the way TVs used to look. So I watched this movie with my kids. They were probably 5 and 7 at the time that I showed them this movie. And we've got a really big high definition TV. It's like 65 inches, 1080p. At the time, it was pretty good. And we watched this movie and I was kind of nervous for the scene, thinking that maybe they would be freaked out by it, but it didn't faze them at all. They weren't scared by it, even in the littlest amount, because the fidelity of our TV was so good that you could see that it was fake. You could see that it wasn't a real, like, human turning into a living corpse in front of you. It really clearly looks like claymation or something like that. So my point here is that when I was a little kid, because the resolution was so bad, it looked real. It felt real. But now with modern technology, with a really nice and huge TV, when you watch this movie on Netflix or something like that, it just doesn't have the same impact. It's not scary in the way it was in the 90s. So there's something we can take home with our home studios with this, and it is, if you are trying to make songs that sounds like you've got $1 million worth of gear and the best studio musicians in the world, and you're going for this high fidelity, really clear, enormous production value, you're probably struggling to measure up. And you're struggling to measure up because you're going for fidelity instead of musicality. So my advice to you, if you have a home studio and you're in the couple $100s to even tens of thousands of dollars worth of gear, it can be tough to compete if you don't have a lot of experience with people that are making these high fidelity records. And I would point out one of my favorite records in the past 10 years or so is Bon Iver, and it is not a hi-fi record, not at all. But it is one of the most beautiful records that I think has ever been made. And it's beautiful because Bon Iver didn't let his lack of fidelity be a limitation on the quality of his music. I think many of us get so focused on fidelity that we forget musicality. Musicality makes the biggest impact, not fidelity. You can have an amazing song without fidelity, but you cannot have an amazing song without musicality. So if you've been spending too much time focusing on high fidelity, you might take some time and reevaluate maybe the types of songs that you're making or the types of productions that you're doing to support your songs, because you can use whatever amount of gear that you have to make something that's really awesome and musical. You're not limited in your musicality by whatever your gear is. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I've got one more free thing for you. I've got a gift. If you are pulling your hair out, if you're feeling like a crazy person in the recording studio, you can take my free personality test. It's called the Mix Polish Quiz, and it'll ask you a couple questions and get an idea for what you struggle with in the studio and give you some really great actionable advice on how you can improve and not feel like a crazy person with really high highs and really low lows in the studio. So check it out, mixpolish.com. There's a link in the description, and it's free, absolutely no strings attached. It'll help you mix your songs twice as fast and twice as good. So check it out, mixpolish.com, totally free. Hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.